Hi guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing my November book haul. Up until today I hadn't bought any books at all during the month of November. I was super proud of myself, trying to save some money this month so that we can do a bit of Christmas shopping and kind of buy all the things that we need for the Christmas period. And then I went and got my hair done this morning, and whenever I go and get my hair done I have to go into the charity shops nearby. It's just, yeah, I just can't help myself. So I've got a bunch of books that I picked up for super cheap that I want to share with you today. Actually, the first couple of books that I want to show you are ones that I bought brand new. So the first of those is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I got this for half price, this lovely hardback edition of it. And I've been intrigued to pick this up for a little while, and then it was announced during the week that it was on the shortlist for the Costa first novel, I think, yeah, because Simon Savage is judging that category, I'm pretty sure. But I've heard lots of good things. Lisa from Books and Smiles has read this and loved it, and Amanda from Cook Read Create again read it and loved it, so I've been really intrigued to pick it up, and I saw this lovely hardback edition of it for half price, and I just couldn't resist. So I believe this is about a woman who's a bit of a recluse. She doesn't have much of a life, she's a bit of an introvert. She sort of goes home and does the same things every day, and thinks that she's happy. It says nothing is missing from her carefully timetabled life, except sometimes everything. Yeah, so can't wait to give that one a go. And then the other one I picked up was Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas. I actually bought this a couple of months ago, and then my husband read it and lent it to a student of his at school, and the copy that we had came back and it was just dreadful. The student had clearly had it rattling around the bottom of their bag, and it was beat up and dirty and just looks dreadful. So I was like, I can't have that on my shelf. So I went out and bought a new copy of it, and I'll just donate the one that I've got to my school library. But yeah, this is the Chol Westfall novel in the Throne of Glass series. I thought it was supposed to be a novella, but as you can see it's not a novella. So yeah, there's that one. And then all of the rest of the books that I've got to show you are ones that I picked up in charity shops today. The first of those is The Shining Girls, and this is by Lauren Bukes. Those of you that saw my November book wish list video will know that this was on there. And I just walked into this charity shop, and this is one of the first books that I saw in there, and it was just fate. I couldn't believe that I found it. I'd never seen it before, I'd never heard of it before Sarah from Sarah's Nightstand talked about it, and then I walk into a local charity shop and it's there. So yeah, had to buy that. Then I found a brand new copy of Refugee Boy by Benjamin Zephaniah. I have read this before when I was a lot younger, but I saw this new copy of it and I thought I really must reread that, and I'd really like my husband to read it as well. This is about a boy who moves from Ethiopia over to the UK, and his father kind of drops him off in the UK, but he thinks he's coming with him, but he doesn't end up staying, and it's about him kind of trying to settle into the UK, coping without his father, coping with this new culture, and I remember it being really, really good. I remember a lot of the beginning, but I don't remember a lot of the rest of it, so it would be interesting to reread that one. I also found a copy of River of Smoke, and this is by Amitav Ghosh, and I've got a couple of her books on my shelf now, and Lucy from Bookaxe loves this author. So when I saw this, and it's an absolutely stunning cover, I just couldn't resist. And this says on the back, follow a magical cast of storm-tossed characters from the lush island of Mauritius to the alleys and waterways of 19th century Canton. There in the crowded harbours, disparate lives converge as people come to find their fortunes. Opium merchants from Europe and India exchange their illicit cargo for riches, and an Englishman goes in search of a mythical flower. But all their lives are about to change dramatically as the Chinese emperor steps up the fight to banish the poisonous opium trade from his shores forever. So that sounds really interesting. Sounds like it's going to be one of those books that I'll love because of the sort of travel and culture aspect of it, and yeah, couldn't resist as well because of this stunning cover. Next up, I found a bunch of pretty good condition shopaholic books by Sophie Kinsella. I own the first two and I've read the first one, but I found books, what are they now? I think 4, let me just double check. I found books 4, 5, 7 and 8. So I've got Shopaholic and Sister, Shopaholic and Baby, Shopaholic to the Stars, and Shopaholic to the Rescue. I'm just missing Mini Shopaholic and Shopaholic Ties the Knot. So I was pretty pleased with finding those, and they're just nice kind of chick lit books for me to pick up. Then I found this quite good copy of Nomad by James Swallow. I believe the second one in this series has just come out, and I've sort of seen it around and been sort of intrigued by it, but didn't want to pay full price for it. So this was 99p. So this says on the back, a devastating terrorist attack in central Barcelona, an elite unit fatally ambushed in northern France, a sinister orphanage in the heart of the desert, a traitor buried in the British security services. Only one man can unmask the conspiracy if he survives long enough. I didn't want to pay full price for it because I wasn't sure whether it was my kind of book. It sounds quite political, quite kind of war and army orientated, and I just wasn't sure, but I mean, I was sort of interested by the sort of intertwining of lives thing, so, and as it was only 99p, I thought I'd buy it. Then I found a copy of Why is for Witching, and this is by Helen Oyeyemi, and I've heard Amy from, I can't remember her channel name now, I'll leave it down here, but she did a project this year where she has read all of Helen Oyeyemi's work, and I can't remember hearing her talk about this one, but she has said good things about her work in general. This is actually an uncorrected proof of it, which not really supposed to resell, but anyway. And this sounds like it's going to be quite gothic and dark. So it's set in a mysterious house on the cliffs near Dover. There's a family called the Silver family living there. They're reeling from a hole punched into their heart. Lily is gone and her twins, Miranda and Elliot, and her husband Luke mourn her absence with unspoken intensity. And then it talks about the house and the, you know, and things like that. So yeah, it sounded quite spooky and quite gothic, and like I said, Amy has good things to say about Helen Oyeyemi's work, so I've never read anything by her before, so I was quite pleased to find that one. This is a copy of Alice by Christina Henry. It's quite a battered copy of it, or the spine is quite cracked, but I've had this on my wish list for a while, and I think this is a bit of a retelling of Alice in Wonderland, or it's like Alice in Wonderland when she's older. So it talks about some sort of a woman in a hospital. So in a warren of crumbling buildings and desperate people called the Old City, there stands a hospital with cinder block walls which echo with the screams of the poor souls inside. In the hospital there is a woman. Her hair, once blonde, hangs in tangles down her back. She doesn't remember why she's in such a terrible place. Just a tea party long ago and long ears and blood. Then one night a fire at the hospital gives the woman a chance to escape, tumbling out of the hole that imprisoned her, leaving her free to uncover the truth about what happened to her all those years ago. Only something else has escaped with her, something dark, something powerful. And to find the truth, she will have to track this beast to the very heart of the Old City, where the rabbit waits for his Alice. I have read Alice in Wonderland before and Through the Looking Glass. I wasn't a massive fan of it. Yeah, I didn't really get the hype surrounding it. Perhaps I need to give it another go at some point, but I am quite intrigued by this. It sounds quite dark again, so yeah, there's that one. Then I found a pretty much brand new copy of The Lies of Locke Lamora, and this is by Scott Lynch. I've heard quite a few people talk about this here on BookTube. I mainly picked it up for my husband because it's a fantasy book, but I'm also quite intrigued by it. So This says, the Thorn of Camor is said to be an unbeatable swordsman, a master thief, a friend to the poor, a ghost that walks through walls. Slightly built and barely competent with the sword, Locke Lamora is, much to his annoyance, the fabled Thorn. And while Locke does indeed steal from the rich, who else would be worth stealing from, the poor never see a penny. All of Locke's gains are strictly for himself and his tight-knit band of thieves, the Gentlemen Bastards. The capricious, colourful underworld of the ancient city of Camor is the only home they've ever known, but now a clandestine war is threatening to tear it apart. Caught up in a murderous game, Locke and his friends are suddenly struggling just to stay alive. It reminds me a little bit of Robin Hood, but obviously they're not giving money to the poor. Yeah. I've heard Sam from Thoughts on Tomes say that she really enjoyed this, and this is part of the Gentleman Bastard sequence. So it's a bit of a chunky one, but I think my husband will like it, and I think I will too. Then I've got a non-fiction book here, and this is Barack Obama's The Audacity of Hope, Thoughts on Reclaiming the American Dream. And again, this is a pretty much brand new copy of it. It doesn't look like it's been read. And in this he discusses the importance of empathy and inclusiveness in politics, his hopes for a different America with different policies, and how the ideals of its democracy can be renewed. A public servant and a lawyer, a professor and a father, a Christian and a skeptic, Obama has written a book of transforming power that will inspire people the world over. I've got another Obama book on my shelf that I bought earlier on this year called Dreams from My Father, which I think is more about his childhood, and it's sort of an autobiography, whereas this is a bit more of his sort of political thoughts, I suppose, his philosophies on life. So I think that would be interesting to read. This next book was longlisted for the Man Booker Prize last year, and it is Eileen by Ottessa Moshfegh, I think that's how you pronounce that. I've heard people compare this to The History of Wolves, the kind of two main characters in it being quite similar, so I was intrigued by that. I have actually got a copy of this on my Kindle that I got from NetGalley, which I'm sort of reading at the moment. I've only got a couple of pages into it, but I saw this physical copy of it and I thought it might be nice to have, you know, a copy to read in my hands. It's quite short, so yeah, I was intrigued by the whole main character thing in it, and the opening has been pretty good so far, I have to say. So we'll see with that one. This is a copy of Travelling to Infinity, The True Story Behind the Theory of Everything by Jane Hawking. I watched The Theory of Everything last year and it is an absolutely fantastic film. If you haven't seen it yet, then I would definitely recommend it. Who plays the main character? What's his name? Eddie Redmayne, how could I forget that? He just does such an incredible job of playing Stephen Hawking. So this is obviously the book that the film was based on. It's written from it's written by his ex-wife. Yeah, because I love the film so much, I thought that I would give the book a go. Then I've got here Jojo Moyes' The Ship of Brides. I was quite intrigued by this because of the way it's been published. Her books, I think, have recently been rebranded, so I've only seen them in the copy that I've got Me After You in. So this one, yeah, I quite like the way it had been published. And this one is about, so it says Australia 1946, 650 brides are departing for England to meet the men they married in wartime. But instead of the luxury liner they were expecting, they find themselves aboard an aircraft carrier alongside 1,000 men. On the sun-baked decks, old loves and past promises become distant memories, and tensions are stretched to the limit as brides and husband change their minds. And for Frances Mackenzie, one bride in particular, it soon becomes clear that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. So I thought that premise sounded quite intriguing, and I quite like the time frame that this has got, so yeah. And then again, this is a brand new copy here of Frog Music by Emma Donoghue. Those of you that have watched my channel for a while will know that I read The Wonder earlier in the year, and it was the first Emma Donoghue book that I'd read since reading Room, which I absolutely loved, and I really liked The Wonder as well. And I was kind of having a flick through the opening pages, and you know, when they give you a list of all of their works, and was really surprised by how many books she's written. So I saw this brand new copy and thought, I'm gonna have to buy that one. And the premise of it sounds really intriguing actually. It says San Francisco 1876, a stifling heat wave and smallpox epidemic have engulfed the city. Deep in the streets of Chinatown live 3 former stars of the Parisian circus: Blanche, now an exotic dancer at the House of Mirrors, her lover Arthur, and his companion Ernest. When an eccentric outsider joins their little circle, secrets unravel, changing everything, and leaving one of them dead. Inspired by a true unsolved crime, Frog Music is a dark and compelling story of intrigue and murder. So that sounds really, really good. I was really intrigued by the fact that it was based on a true story as well. So yeah. And then lastly, I bought a copy of Whistling for the Elephants, and this is by Sandy Toksvig. I've read one book by her before, which is called... oh, why can't I remember the name of it? Where is it? Oh, Hitler's Canary, which is a book that she wrote for her son, I think it was for her son. And I just love her. She's so funny, but she's so intelligent and witty at the same time. And I knew that she'd written other books, but I've not actually heard of this one before. And this seems to be about a girl who has to go to New York. Yeah, so it says, Dorothy, aged 10, finds herself making her way in New York in 1968. Her English father, who never talks above a whisper due to a youthful injury with a cricket ball, has tucked her and her mother away where the potential for embarrassment can be limited. All the other children in town have gone to camp, so Dorothy must provide her own entertainment. She comes across a small faded zoo on the outskirts of town, and as she gets to know the eccentric group of women who live there, she begins to discover a world way beyond the one she has glimpsed so far. So yeah, I think this is another children's book. I could be wrong about that. That's kind of the vibes that that's giving me, and I love the cover of this as well. So there you go guys, they were all the books that I bought in November. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. Have you read any of these? What did you think of them? Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.